a little bit more about the Essenes because both both Josephus, who was the prominent historian of Jewish history in the first century, he was a well-to-do Jewish man who provided apologetic, which was a defense of Jewish practices to his Roman neighbors, and generally gave a history of the Jewish people. And this was from a book called The Jewish Wars, where he is trying to relate to the Romans. We are not a warlike people, but we have had wars. You can see how they might be worried about a warlike people. So, in the midst of this, he identifies three forms of philosophy pursued among the Judeans. The members of one are Pharisees, of another Sadducees, and the third school, who certainly are reputed to cultivate seriousness, are called Essenes. Although Judeans by ancestry, they're even more mutually affectionate than the others. So Josephus, in another place, goes to a greater extent in describing them. But here, you can see that he's saying, here are some of our categories, here are some of our parties. There are Pharisees, Sadducees, two kind of learned sorts in the hierarchy of Judaism. And then there are these pullaways called the Essenes. Another admirer was Philo of Alexandria. In the century before, he's a late first century BC character who spills over a little bit into the first century AD, but he was fascinated by the Essenes. He said there's a portion of those people called Essenes, in number something more than 4,000, in my opinion, who derive their name from their piety because they are above all men devoted to, and I'm leaving men in because it's the translation of the original that I have for you and read, but above all people devoted to the service of God, not sacrificing living animals, but studying rather to preserve their own minds in a state of holiness and purity. And he goes on, but I thought we don't have time tonight to read all he says about them. We will get back to other things that Philo said about the Essenes that will help us when we get to certain parts of our readings for tonight.